Well, good morning. Here we are, the first stop of our journey together in identity and meaning and things such as that. I'm standing outside of St. Matthew's, standing outside the church in the front lawn. I got my hat pulled down a little bit because the sun, I could not have timed this in a worse time to do this. The sun is bearing down on me and I can't really see, so pulled my hat down a little bit so I can actually see the camera I'm looking into. But here we are, we're outside the church. And I thought about when I came to St. Matthew's to record this right now, as part of the journey, I thought, well, where do I want to go? I could go inside the sanctuary and speak from inside there. I could film in my office where I normally film from. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go stand outside the church, stand in the front lawn, which I love. I love our front lawn. We've had a lot of fun since I've been here in the front lawn. Remember, we've done we have had a couple movies here. We've had our picnic out front with our water slide and things like that. The youth have used this to play games in. We get a lot of use and value out of our green space up front of the church. But I'm standing here because it's been an interesting season for the life of the church, hasn't it? It's been an interesting season. We've had worship in-house for a few weeks now. We've had to stop for a few weeks before that. We were online for a large portion of our summer, online only. Some of you have been watching these videos of me in the morning, and that's really been the main connection point you've had with the church. It's been a very interesting season in the life of not just our church, but frankly in the life of Christianity in general. It's been a very interesting time to lead a church, to be part of a church, to serve a church, to work within a church, to be connected to a church. We've learned new skills like Zoom Sunday school classes. We have had drive-in services. We've done all manner of things. And I am thankful that we're able to worship in person together. I missed it greatly when we weren't together. And being able to worship in person each Sunday now is one of the greatest parts of my week now. I truly love it, and it's truly life-giving to me. But I'm out here now because that's also where I spent a good portion of the summer, wasn't it? Outside, not in the church, not being where I wanted to be. Many of us felt that way, and some may still feel that way as they wait to return in a way that they feel safe. And that got me thinking about the dual challenge sometimes of being faithful and being uncertain. I'm here in front of the church because this is my mission. I'm a United Methodist pastor. I've been sent here to serve this church as best I can. Quite often, even pre-COVID, I feel like my abilities are lacking. I feel like I probably get it wrong more than I get it right. During COVID, it's made it even more difficult because you're like, oh gosh, was that the right thing to do? Or should I have done it this way or that way? Or, you wrestle with the uncertainty. Serving God is not always certain, is it? Serving God or doing the right thing is often, sometimes produces more questions than answers, doesn't it? Because you so want to be faithful deep in the core of your being. You so want to do the right thing and serve in the right way and be faithful. We've all been there. Some of us are there now. And we don't always know what to do. There's some times in our life when we're 100% clear what the answer is, what the right or wrong is. There's some days we're not sure. And that's why I so love Psalm 119. Psalm 119 is one of the great scriptures in the Bible. It's the longest psalm in the entire book of Psalms. A lot of the Psalms are short. Some of them are just a few verses long. Some of them are, 40 or 50 verses. But Psalm 119 goes on and on and on and on. It is a book. It is a psalm of Hebrew poetry, which goes to the Hebrew alphabet and basically brings forth worship and wisdom based off each letter of the alphabet. The Psalm 119 there in the middle has a verse you've heard me say a million times. Thy word's a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. And in certain times, that's been my rock that I've held on to. Jesus has always been my rock, but that's been the truth that I've held on to, is that his words are lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. And I'm going to be faithful and follow the light that he shows me. But lamps and lights don't always give us 100 feet from now. Lamps and lights sometimes just give us the next step, and the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And our job in life, our job in faith, our job is to take the next faithful step, to do the next right thing, to take the next faithful step of obedience to God. That's really our mission. Our mission, we spend so much time in our life trying to figure out exactly what God's calling us to do and how we're supposed to do it. And that's important. We need to know the specifics of life. But our two missions in life as Christians is first and foremost this: to obey the greatest commandment. Jesus said the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, and to love your neighbors you love yourself. He said on this hinges the law and the prophets. That's the greatest commandment that we have as Christians, is to love God with every fiber of our being and love our neighbor with every fiber of our being. And if we spend our lives doing that and exhaust ourselves loving God and loving neighbor, then we will be faithful in the way that God calls us to be faithful. That's one thing. The second thing is to take the next faithful step that God's calling us to. That's it. Those are the specific callings that we have as Christians, to take the next faithful step, to love God and neighbor with all that we are. So yesterday I asked you a couple questions. Today I want to ask you a couple more questions, kind of along the same line. Are you loving God with all that you are? Are you loving God and your neighbor with every fiber of your being? Is there any part of your life, any part of your faith, any part of all that you are that you're withholding from God, or that you're not using to love your neighbor completely? Because that is the thing that God's calling us to above all else, to love Him with all that we are and love our neighbor with all that we are. If we spend ourselves and exhaust ourselves in doing that, then we're truly living. So are we loving God, and are we loving neighbor completely and totally? And second, what is the next faithful step that God's calling you to? He might not show you exactly where it is or what it is, but He's calling you to a next faithful step of obedience. So in your life today, what is that? Are you loving God completely, totally, with all that you are? Are you loving your neighbor completely, totally, with all that you are? On this hinges the law and the prophets. That's what it's all about. Loving God, loving neighbor. That's our highest calling. 2, what is that next faithful step? Where is He calling you to be obedient today? Where is He calling you to something that may be hard, something that may be challenging, something that you may not even be sure of? Taking that next faithful step. I've tried to, as pastor this summer and this season, love my people and love my God with all that I am. Probably to mixed success, but I've tried to do it as best I could. And I've tried to take the next faithful step that God's calling me to take. That's really all I can do. Beyond that, I don't have much control. How do I love God? How do I love neighbor? How do I take the next faithful step? That's my mission. That's my mission in life right now. That's my mission as a pastor. Love God, love you, next faithful step. That's what I try to do. We all have a mission. We all have a purpose. We all have a calling from God. What's yours? What's yours? If you don't know, stick to those basics. Love God, love neighbor, next faithful step. We do those things right there, and God will lead us where He needs us to be. So, the first stop on our journey today is mission. That's mine. Love God, love neighbor, next faithful step. Today in your life, what's your mission? What's calling you to do? And how can your church, how can your friends, how can your family, how can each of us help you be faithful to the mission that God's calling you to do? So that's today. Stick with us. We've got more places to be and more things to see. Love you guys. Have a great day.